Hey y'all. So we're going to finish out Hebrews 12 passage and then move into or tie it back into where we were in John 3:16. So we look away from the natural realm and we focus our attention and expectation onto Jesus, who birthed faith within us and who leads us forward into faith's perfection. His example is this: because his heart was focused on the joy of knowing that you would be his, he endured the agony of the cross and conquered its humiliation, and now sits at the right hand of God the Father. It says the note on humiliation is from the Aramaic. The Greek is thinking nothing of its shame. So he focused on the joy of knowing that you would be his. And so when we are, walking in this obstacle course, when, the sufferings of this present day are temporal, right? Peter talks about that. We're looking for the joy at the end. The joy at the end. When I persevere and I hold fast, what's the result? What's the result of the promise fulfilled? And so we focus on, if we took every day with the end in sight, with the end in front of our mind, the accomplishments, the prize of the day, the prize of enduring, it would make enduring a whole lot easier. There are things that I do that with, and trouble comes up or something happens, and I just shake my head and say, "Oh, I've got this coming. This is my promise. This is the answer. This is what God has given me." And so all of this mess doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. I would be much better off if I would do that first every time rather than, let frustration sit in at all. But we put our focus and attention onto Jesus, following his example of the joy at the end, the prize, as the Amplified says, which was you and us, you and me, for the joy of obtaining the prize. So we were reading in John 3:16 about the God light, right? So this is the crisis we're in. When we're talking about Psalm 1, you have those who love God and those who don't, so the godly and the ungodly. And John 3:16, 19 through 20, or 3:19 through 20 from the Message says, this is the crisis we're in. God light streamed into the world, but men and women everywhere ran for the darkness. They went for darkness because they were not really interested in pleasing God. So we all know John 3:16, but when we pay attention to that following verse, these people who refuse. Have you ever had a child just refuse to do something? Like they're just not going to do it. These people who refuse to come out into the light remind me of those in Psalm 1:1. Their activities, their conduct, and their deeds prove that they have not considered God or his ways. So John 3:21 says, but he who practices truth, who does what is right, comes out into the light, so that his works may be plainly shown to be what they are: wrought with God, divinely prompted, done with God's help, and in dependence on him. Now that's the blessed one. We've talked about that in Matthew 5. So when his works are seen, when the blessed one's works are seen, when any person looks at his deeds, his life, his path, it's evident that God was involved. The only way a person could have accomplished such things is that they were done in dependence on him. Evidence of the divine. In Genesis 3:7, we read that the eyes of them both were opened and they knew that they were naked, Adam and Eve. They were naked before their eyes were opened. It wasn't until they chose not to listen to God that they saw they were naked. That was the moment that our senses became tainted with sin, and why we have to walk by faith and not by sight. That's 2 Corinthians 5:7. We cannot be moved by what we see with our eyes. We must only be moved by the Word of God. Tie-in. I love when God puts a bow on things. Who is the Word of God? John 1 tells us that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Jesus. Jesus. So we look away from the natural realm, Hebrews 12:2, and we focus our attention and expectation onto the Word, onto Jesus, who is the author and finisher of our faith. We'll keep going next week. I'll see you then. Bye, y'all.